Hello everybody, welcome to the weekend. Now this is going to be a very special video. I know a lot of people have got loads of suggestions of various champions they'd like to see tried out in the content creator beta. The content creator beta has a limitation to it in that you can only rank up 6 stars you have. So I know that Bearded Spider requested Hawkeye at 6 star at rank 3. Can't do it unfortunately, but I really would like to do it. Hopefully in future I get the champion I'm able to test out, but this video is going to be focused on Nighthrasher, looking at this 6 star rank 3 200 signature versus mine that is on the other side of things, so the non-beta side of things, and looking at the 125 unawakened and seeing how the scalable damage works. Is it better? Is it nicer to see? Those kind of things. Nighthrasher Unawakened is still a pretty alright champion, but I must admit it's the awakened ability that entices me a lot, especially with heavy attacks have a 35% chance to activate the gadget debuff to inflict taunt, so it's another debuff, and the more debuff the enemy has, the better it is for your damage output. But also, the striking a taunted opponent with a skateboard attack grants permanent fury buff, increasing attack by X amount depending on rarity and signature, max 10 stacks. When knocked down, these buffs are lost. We're going to try and get knocked down, and after being knocked down, Nighthrasher has a 50% chance to purify all debuffs. Again, not something I want to do, but it is handy, a bit of kit, especially when it comes to going up against champions to do cold snap, frostbite, you know, those kind of like more painful debuffs. What's the recent one? Rupture. You know, the list goes on. Recent ones, older ones, just painful ones, bleeds, poisons, etc, etc. Now, just to go a bit further to explain the debuff damage side of things, we'll be looking to finish our combos with either light or medium in order to throw in a special attack, which will put on either disorientate or a nice little incinerate. So that's 2. We'll then be doing a heavy attack to try and refresh, because that's what we're trying to do, is refresh the extent of the gadget debuffs. There's a lot to explain with this, but the fact is we're using heavy attacks to refresh with the lovely little taunt debuff. So that's 3. We'll hopefully be getting off the synergy some bleed damage, so that could be at times 4 debuffs on the enemy. And then we'll be throwing in the SP3 for good measures in order to maximize tickable damage. But as I said, inflict a passive debilitate, God, I can't even speak properly, extend the duration of all debuffs by 75% for 45 seconds, refresh all gadget debuffs for the extended duration. So there's going to be a lot of tickable damage at one given time, but as well trying to build up to an SP2, which is very nice for the extent of critical rating increase, and which is always maximized by a good little synergy setup, which you can see on screen at the moment. So I decided to put in the likes of Beardo, just because it gets plus 250 critical rating on basic attacks. So we're trying to increase the amount of crits that we're doing with the basics, which can be very helpful, especially when you want to hit through damage whilst the enemy has got debuffs on, because you could have like no power, no special attacks ready to go, but you want to try and keep up the momentum of the damage. So let's have a look first and foremost how the Unawakened champion version did. On screen at the moment, I'll be showcasing the footage of the Unawakened version firstly to give the idea of like, well, is there any good damage available? And the answer is yes, there's somewhat, but it takes a while. In a lot of cases, the champion that's unawakened is usually better, and especially when it comes to certain things within the ability. Now, certain things within the signature ability is the building of the fury buffs. Not to mention the fact that, not forget the fact that there's also ramping up with a heavy attack. There's also just more damage output for debuffs on the enemy. It just means that the unawakened version slaps a lot of damage. Unfortunately, it's a case this isn't really sustainable. When you're going to look at the footage in a moment with the rank 3 6-star version awakened with 200 signature, yes, it's going to show fundamental improvements, especially with the extent of how quickly it takes to get down Winter Soldier. Now, it's not the hugest of damage dealers, but the fact is, in 108 hits, you're able to achieve so much more than you would with this unawakened version that's on screen at the moment. So, let's now switch over to the Awakened version. Here we go with the Captain Marvel fight. Something to point out, and I'm sure there will be people in the comment section that will say this, a Suicide Mastery may be best for the likes of Nighthrasher. If you are going to remove some of the debuff effects, maybe it would be helpful for the damage output side of things, and maybe as well the amount of hits to take down said enemies will be more quicker so to speak. But it's all about what is interesting. And what is interesting for me is definitely the takedown of Captain Marvel with this version. So firstly, I'm trying to get to a point of just refreshing, constantly refreshing those particular debuffs. My plan is to get to the end point of a special 3 and then be able to, again, maximize damage output. We've also got the synergies in place to get the bleed debuffs. At the moment, you've got 4, I'd say 3 constant debuffs if I can refresh them, which I'm doing now with the heavy attack. And as well, when it comes to the parries and as well like the bleeds. But I'm still building up my furies. I'm on 7 furies at the moment, 8 furies, and they're building up to 10. That is when it's going to be, and there we go, we're up to 10 furies, and we're going to hit in a nice SP3. I'm trying as well, and that's terrible, I clicked too early, but it doesn't matter. So, firstly, I'm going to smash in the SP3. Spin around, hit, on skateboard, usual rubbish. And then we've got, we're all in place. Now we're going to try and hit. Man, look at that. All that kind of like lovely debuff damage. Yes, fantastic. It's the fury damage, the scaling there, the 2 6000s. I'm going to now try and refresh some of the debuffs we've got in place. I want that taunt debuff back, but as well, it looks like I've thrown in SP1. So maybe that was a bad decision by me, but I think I was trying to quickly. It looked like the champion wasn't doing much, and I wanted to. There we go. We've built up to 3 debuffs. I want to, by the end of it, have as many debuffs as possible and try and hit an SP2. There we go. Loads of debuffs on. Boom. 23k there. Nice. So that is what I wanted to do, is just kind of like build up to that SP2, hit in as much damage as possible. You can see the crits. Look at the crits there. And those basic crits. And that's, again, that synergy with Captain America that's in place. Looking good. Love that. And that was a very quick takedown. Could have been quicker. Suicide Masteries, of course. If I had a different setup, if I played differently, maybe, but that was fun. Now, I would say if you ever come of an opportunity to get a Nighthrasher Awakened and as well quite highly up on signature, I reckon it'd be quite a formidable fighting force and very, very fun, especially with the utility of going up against those that do evade and auto block abilities. So where these skateboard attacks here says champions in the contest never see the skateboard coming. Attacks using skateboard have true accuracy, ignoring all evade and auto block effects. So there is great utility for this champion, especially if you're throwing debuffs, and if there's opportunities like, I don't know, if there's something of a debuff that goes onto the enemy, that could be really good, really effective, like a poison or something like that. And I'm sure down the line there will be things added to throwing more debuffs on enemies, and there's probably a few synergy combinations you could do in order to throw an extra debuff the way of the enemy and do a lot more damage than I was doing. And especially with Suicide Masteries, that can be quite handy for say shrugging off the bleed or the poison very early on. Or it's a case of just kind of monitoring that damage that you might be taking if for whatever reason you are taking a damaging debuff. So yeah, really cool champion. Really cool to try out the 6-star at rank 3. And yeah, what are your thoughts based on what you've seen here? Would you even consider ranking up a Nighthrasher? Put it down in the comment section down below. And thanks again for watching. Check out some other content that's up there. Check out some other stuff that's down there. And I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye for now.